Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Dr. Enolia Fodi, and welcome. Welcome to the Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. And it brings me such great pleasure to introduce to you Philip Chang. Philip Chang is an intuitive energy who brings effortless ease to his session. After attempting to fit into the real world and denying his psychic abilities, he was passed over for promotions for 10 years, leading to feelings of betrayal. Despite being taught that hard work and perseverance would be rewarded, he felt taken advantage of. This experience guided him back to the spiritual path. After resigning, Philip spent the next 17 years discovering his passion for helping people overcome their fears and use their psychic abilities freely. Welcome, Philip.
Hello, how are you?
I'm so happy to have you here, excited to have you here, and we're gonna have this great conversation and looking so forward to it.
Oh, same here in Elia.
So let's start with our topic. And our topic is finding your spiritual path. And in finding your spiritual path, well, you know that everybody wants to kind of know your story. A little bit of brief information was given in that introduction you gave us, but talk to us a little bit about who Philip Chang is and where you started in life on your path. What
Oh,
was that incident?
yes. My story is pretty, it started very in early childhood. So in the beginning, I was really intuitive, but I really wanted to deny it. Whatever I did, it's just that I couldn't fit in. And I also grew up in a traditional Chinese household where there was a lot of teachings about spirituality, but there's also like trying to blend in to the Western world. So it was actually just a little bit of a clash between fitting in modern society as well as like bringing in um, spirituality. So what happened was I grew up with a single mom, and that's actually like I would say the modern world because she was the first Chinese woman in Chinatown in Los Angeles basically to get a divorce and also had to raise three children on her own. So with that understanding, it's just that, I always kind of like felt out of place because I was the first person without a father by his side and always being raised by women. So that was my first like inkling that I was really like out of place. But in addition to that, I was also really uh, right now, I was also seeing things that I could not explain, hearing things, and also in the spiritual world. But I really didn't want to so like believe it because of the fact that I might be labeled like crazy. So I just so like said, okay, I'm shutting this off and just really going to be in the normal world. But it just left a hole in my body, and also it manifested like in other ways, like being really angry at the world. And again, I couldn't fit in no matter what I tried. So I again decided to just say, okay, the heck with spirituality, and I'm just gonna just live life freely. But so what I did was I went into like the corporate world and just decided to say, okay, you know what, I needed to get a job and fit in the world and also pay expenses. So back in the 1990s, when it was really easy to get a job without a degree, without any type of experience, what I did was I started working in the mailroom in the largest financial services company in California. worked my way up to um, a a commissions person that helps brokers track down their commissions when it was actually like missing. But each time I would apply for promotions, I was again passed over, and I just couldn't understand why. And this contributed to more of my anger, and it manifested in my body, and I just couldn't understand why. So, right before the market crash back in 2000, I decided to leave. It was actually the housing crisis. I decided to leave and say, okay, I'm going to try myself in real estate, um, investing and everything like that. So um, I was really good at it. But 6 months into that new career, I had a seizure, and
Mm-mm.
I didn't know what was going on. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital. Yeah, it was 2 weeks in the hospital, and they just tried to diagnose me with like everything, but nothing actually came up. So they just released me and just said, okay, you know what? You can go home with this medication. Well, 7 days later, what happened was I had an allergic reaction to the medication that they gave me. So I was rushed back to the hospital and spent another 2 weeks there. And what happened there was that I spent another 2 weeks in the hospital where the doctors really was flushing my blood out of my flushing my blood, and also cleaning up my system
Mhm.
from this medication that they gave me, which later I found out was banned for use now. But the worst thing that happened wasn't even that. The worst thing was about 30 days later, the bill came, and everything that I had saved and also worked for completely like ended. I
Oh,
lost
wow.
everything. So,
Wow.
so from there, I wasn't able to drive to do like the real estate investing, and I couldn't uh, figure out what was going on. So the question always came up like, why me? Why at this time in like the prime of my life? I was in my 30s. I had two houses paid off, but my account was like zero and almost negative because of the fact that um, I didn't have insurance at that time.
Mhm.
So so at that point, I just decided on this discovery, like, why me? I read books. I found teachers that some of them did not agree with me until about like 10 years ago, where I found uh, the person that actually resonated with me that helped me understand from really the beginning, like the seizure, and also to my search, what had happened. And I found out later, through her help, was that that was actually my first spiritual awakening, where it's like, okay,
Wow.
we're giving you like a big kick in the pants to really
Mhm.
say, okay, it's time to start like your spiritual path right now, or get back on your spiritual path. And along the way, I just said, okay, you know what? I like this. I don't like this, and you know what? I'm just gonna do it like, not. I'm not sure if I should say this, but half-assedly.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Yeah. I want to go back through some of the things that you said and I want to capture them. And the first thing that really struck me is that as a child, you saw things and you felt things. And there are other children that are out there who have the ability to see, who have the ability to feel the other realm, you know? And how did your family handle that? What was it that you had to deal with that made you shut down? Because I think about the other kids that are out there, and they might be listening to this. They need to hear that it's okay to be able to see differently and feel differently. They need to be able to understand that, it doesn't make you, you shouldn't shut down, and it doesn't make you odd. That is, it's just the fact that you're gifted, that each person comes with a different gift. And we need to be able to hold on to that gift. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
I do actually like it, like the way you actually say it. I call it like the childhood superpower. It's just that each one
Yeah.
of us actually have like an innate superpower within us. And what it is mine happens to be the psychic abilities. And to everybody, I think I would say that it's okay that, you may be able to see things that other people aren't able to see, or be an empath if you are one, or even all of them too. It's like it's quite okay. It's just like for me, it's just that um, there was some, as I go back again to my own childhood, it was more that we wanted to fit. My parents and my grandparents really wanted me to fit in this world. So what they did was they found shamans, Chinese shamans, and also medicine
Mhm.
people, and decided to bound the powers. And
Wow.
it's just that I later found out it was more like, yeah, bounding powers, and just so like saying, okay, you have to fit in this world, and let's just do that. And but it always sort of like always there was always like leakage of like the supernatural, or the superpower that actually came out. And then each year, or each few years, my grandmother would do some ritual with, again, this medicine woman, and also
Yeah.
shaman that actually helped me, like, okay, bound these powers again, or bound these
Yeah.
unworldly things.
These gifts, these unworldly things, the things that we can't explain. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I really just want to emphasize this, especially with the potential audience that could be looking at that. And you're saying, well, how can you say there's nothing wrong with that? It's because we pray. And when we pray, right? Or if you believe in a higher power or supreme power, whatever the case may be. And I always kind of default to the medicine wheel, right? And the medicine wheel, like if you had your arms spread out straight across, right? And you had your body vertical and your arms horizontal, right? The horizontal would be the physical realm. It would be you see, touch, taste, smell, hear, your regular senses, And then when we look to the spiritual realm, why is that so unfathomable? We're looking inwardly. It's the place where we pray. It's the place where we connect to spirit. It's the universe within. Why wouldn't we think that there aren't other worldly things in that universe? Why wouldn't we think that there's realms, dimensions that can be seen or unseen that are there when we choose to look? And that when you are not biased by the human condition, that world can be seen, that world can be felt, that you have an intuitive sense, or you have a knowing that something's going to take place, or that you have a knowing not to do something, to go right instead of left, because
Right.
in that realm it's telling you don't go left. So I just want to emphasize that we have practicalities that associate with that realm, but yet we want to act like, oh no, it can't exist, that's too woo woo, that's taboo, you know
Right. The first, I would say, really, really to what you're saying is that it's almost like when the cross appears out of nowhere, and then everybody goes and worships it, and then goes and puts everybody's picture on it, just to make sure that the cross actually gives everybody a blessing. I've only seen this like once or twice in physical, where everybody has also saw it as well. The whole entire neighborhood gathered in like this one house, and so like saw this like cross appear in the air for no reason at all. Yeah, and I say this with like with all due respect to everybody, it's just that the media does a terrible job of like helping like the kids and also myself with owning the superpower and also gifts
Mhm.
because of like you know the sixth sense or poltergeist and everything like that is just like it's made out into like being this very fearful world, but it's really not. Sometimes
Right.
it may be like, you just have an understanding of like what's going on.
And understanding a vocabulary, understanding how to approach it. Let's talk about that because this was all about finding your spiritual path. And as you shared your story, I realized that you had to look back, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you look back to realize that you had that precipice of moment that it was like, oh, that was my spiritual awakening, you know? So talk to us a little bit about looking back and realizing what that was for yourself.
But for me, it's always because I'm a very analytical person from childhood, so I'm like analyzing every single moment of like in time, like what happened to me. So for me, I would say that, looking back, it's like some of the things that I was doing. I did leave out that because I was passed over and also because I was denying the psychic abilities, I also turned to drinking as well. It's
Mhm.
like I was really like drinking pretty much like night I would say 9 to 5, I would be like working in the corporate world on Fridays is actually a free for all. So what we did was we worked really hard during the week, and then by the
Mhm.
weekend, we were like, okay, everybody goes to happy hour. And from there, it's like, okay, I took a left turn where I started drinking like even after like the 9 to 5 during the day. And
Right.
sometimes it actually continued throughout the day too. So in looking back, it's like probably it would be like some of the things that I did that led up to the seizure, but it's also the idea that again I was using another substance to deny what was happening, which was okay, my my guides, my spirit was saying, okay, enough is enough. It's time to, explore like what you have been denying for so long.
Mhm. Exactly. And the other part of that too that I wanted to ask you about was you had a seizure. And many times when trauma happens in our lives, we come out the other end of it a completely different person. Was that the case for yourself?
I would say yes. For me, it was more like how does people say the 5 stages of grief? It's like the
Mhm.
5 stages of like recovery is almost the same thing. It's like we go through like, okay, first it's like the bargaining phase. Okay, if I don't drink or if I, just start in the or stay on a narrow path, my spiritual path, or just the path, this would never happen to me ever again. Then it's also the blame too. It's like, okay, I'm blaming like myself for like, denying the spiritual gifts and also drinking. Then there's also like okay, the grieving process is okay, I lost everything. It's like why me type of thing. And it's not completely like standard. It's not like the whole entire 5 steps. There's like, okay, steps where I go back and then it's like, okay, I'm grieving because I've lost everything. Then I'm going back to like bargaining. If I do like this from now on, will I,
Mhm.
get everything I want? If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does. It makes a lot of sense. So, what would you share with those people who are looking for a spiritual path in terms of recognizing their gifts? Because you recognize, well, let's talk about that. You've recognized your gift. We have a gift and we recognize what it means to us. So your gift, what it meant to you was that you get to see into the other realm. What it meant to you was that you get to feel something in the other realm. But then when we refocus that to another person, not the realm, but just like seeing into the other realm of another person or seeing into the other realm of what's happening around another person, that's a different focus.
Yes.
So how do you transition that? Is there a transition of that? Or it's just that how you perceive, no matter what you're looking at, you pick up.
It's I would say it's an art and also a science because
Okay.
um
That's what I'm
for
asking. I'm like,
yeah, it's more like, okay, again, the first few times is like when I finally acknowledged it, the first thing is like the fear stage. It's like, okay,
mm,
I'm seeing all this stuff, and it's sometimes it may be uh, I don't know if I should use the word dark, but sometimes it's like a shadowy being. And if you don't know how to communicate with it, you can be like really afraid of it, thinking that, okay, it may be the devil or it may be like something ominous. But then, once I learned how to, I would say, hone um, by asking really like, okay, what is this type of being, then I get a little bit more interested. Then I'm like really like focused on like looking at like say beings and also other people's energy as well. But then, going back to the media for a second, it's almost like, okay, there's always people that do parlor tricks, where it's like,
mhm.
okay, there's fortune tellers. And that's not a bad thing because that actually again opens up like the world to having like a psychic energy out there, but it's in a different way. So when I first like told a few people about like being able to see things, it was like, okay, what do you see now? Or do you see anything around me? And things like that. But um, later on, when I went into like say some formal training, it was okay. Now I don't actually have to read everybody. I don't have to say, okay, there's your ex-girlfriend like standing next to you who has passed or something like that. My
Right.
my best one was a I was at a men's conference, and what happened was a few days before, this colleague of mine, his brother has passed, and I'm like staring at the guy during the whole entire conference. He might be thinking that I'm weird. I'm staring at the guy, but it's like I'm in the background. I'm like communicating with his brother who has just passed 3 days ago. And when he shared it with everybody from the group after the meeting, it was like, oh my God, I actually saw like dead people.
And to me that it doesn't even dwell on me to think that way. I have to share with you, I've had a couple of moments, right? I remembered I was doing a women's retreat and it was like 20 women in the room. And one of the women had just had her son pass. And we had just finished doing a little mini meditation. So I was really just tapped in and I just felt so calm and at ease. And it's hard to describe the state of mind that you're in, but I go to these moments when I'm coming out of meditation where I can see the physical energy. I can just see the glow of everyone's aura and just where they're at and the colors and everything. But I saw this dark, shadowy figure standing right on right on the woman's shoulder, standing right behind her. And then I saw it holding her, like just wanting to comfort her, and then letting go. And I realized it was her son. It was the son who was trying to give her comfort and peace to say that, he was okay. And so I just shared with her what I saw, and I shared with her that he's trying to hold you and he wants you to give peace. And this isn't something that happens to me normally. This was the anomaly. I actually was just so tapped in the realm that I got to see that. And I think you're right. You know, what happens is that typically we're so in fear instead of just I just, like I see someone standing right by your side. I feel like it's your son. It has to be your son. And then when I saw the arms go around her, that the shadowy arms go around her, it's like it's your son. He's trying to tell you he loves you, and I get it, but people go to fear. Is
Oh,
it
yes.
like that experience?
Oh, yes. I always tell people it's actually we begin with the fear first. It's like, okay, we're not,
Okay.
yeah, it's like, okay, we're not normal if we actually see things. And again, going back to like the media, the sixth sense, I see dead people type of thing. And
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, once you learn a little bit how to communicate with it, if you want to, then gets a little bit more interesting. So you're like a little
Mm.
bit more like, okay, I'll see that just a little bit more. But then there's also, again, you go back a little bit back and forth between interest and fear until you actually find like a medium between the two.
And then how do you get them to just calm down and stop? Sometimes they're knocking on your door, they want to get your attention because I believe that you end up being a light in their world and they can see you and they can see that you're capable of seeing them. And so then you might get a crowd that just wants you to communicate because they recognize that you can communicate. How do you deal with that? If you deal with that.
Oh yes, I deal with that in the past before I actually really took control of like my own energy and of my own space. And it's more like how my teacher and I explained it to me is that you're at a higher spiritual realm than or vibration than they are because they have actually passed. And you have
Yeah.
free will to so like say, no, I'm actually not going to be doing communications with anybody. It's almost like there's another show, Jennifer Love Hewitt, where she goes
Uh-huh.
down and chases like everybody to give like communications. And I see that as being like so tiring if everybody comes to me and I have to go all around the world just to sort of like say, hey, you know what? Somebody's trying to communicate with you. So
Yeah.
again, it's more like, okay, you and this actually takes a little bit of training, is that you do have like the free will to say to them, in a peaceful way that, I'm not doing this anymore. It's like you have to
Yeah.
find somebody else.
Yes, yes. So does your focus always reside one-on-one with individuals? Do you feel a connection to intuitively reading like what's going on in the world events or anything like that?
I haven't tried that yet. Well, actually, no, I actually have like read the Earth. It's like what's going on globally on the Earth, and also like what's going on in the US as well. It's like with the political situation, and that's the only one I'll probably talk about is just that what happened back in 2000 brought up like the all the animosity. The person Trump basically brought up like all the animosity that was everybody that was holding inside, and it allowed everybody to really express it. And some in not like gentle way, some like a little bit more gentle, and it may be able to like free up like the whole entire world and also the country so that we can vibe a little bit higher too.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So you know that I would feel remiss if I didn't say you had to do just a little bit of reading before you left, right? On the
Oh,
show. So, and I'm the only one here, right?
oh yes.
So So do you want to do a little bit of reading?
Oh, oh, sure, sure.
I leave it to you.
Oh, okay. Um, I hear the phrase sleep, and what that means to me, and what I'm hearing is that um, you may want to relax just a little bit more. It's just that you are running a lot, and it keeps you awake at night. And I see the legs are like really tired a lot, especially just right above the ankle. Let's see if there's anything else for you.
I have to say that that's correct, especially in the last few weeks. Absolutely.
Okay. Uh, I hear that you are planning a trip, and it's a feeling of like you want to, again, travel more too. And it's a feeling of like between, I hear either Europe or the United States, those two. It's like I can't I don't get the information of like where, but it's like Europe and also uh, the US. And
That's correct.
oh, okay.
That's absolutely correct. I will be going to the US via Europe. So, and I have a long layovers in Portugal,
Ah,
so.
okay. Let's see if there's anything else for you. I get the word relax a lot. It's just that not only the the physical where you're running, there's also a little bit of just relax a lot more. It's a feeling of a little bit of anxiety within your body. It's like you have to get it done. And it's like when you don't get it done, it causes like this anxiousness, and you're also like shaking too. Um, do, do you drink coffee a lot too?
No, I don't, but I am studying. I am studying philosophy on my own self pace. And so I meet with a mentor every week, and the anxiety of making sure that I get my work done before I meet. And so that race of the mind as well as the physical is a lot of reading because I'm reading like a couple of books a week. It's
Oh,
it's like
wow.
so yeah, you're tapped right into it. And no one would know that except the person that I'm meeting with, right? So
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So yeah, I get the relaxed part because it's like I my anxiety of raising my knowledge base to have discussions each week has been like the goal, and I've been meeting that goal, and I've been proud of myself, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot. And I'm not
Uh,
reading like 100-page books. I'm reading like 400, 500, 700-page books. A
Oh,
lot.
wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
I just want to say thank you. Philip, I mean, you're phenomenal. What would you share for those who are looking to start their path and not quite sure what to do or how to tap into their gift like you have? What would you
Mm.
say? What would you say to those individuals?
I would say find a teacher that actually guides you through this. Um, and also the one that actually resonate with you. It may be like one or two that you may actually have to try out before you really like find the teacher that actually resonates with you. And from there, it's pretty much like just follow what your teacher like explains to you, then it may actually get a little bit easier. Just a little bit of side note, I did have a teacher before I found the one that resonated with me that was not in high vibration, meaning like
Mm,
he was a martial artist, so he actually made everybody like do the martial way instead of like helping us really understand the psychic abilities. He wanted just nothing to do with it, but he actually does everything with it too. So he would
yeah.
just like say, "Okay, you're not like ready for that just yet."
Oh, I love it. And how can people reach out to you and what kind of healing work or intuitive work, or you want to share what your sessions are or look like?
Oh, yes. For I don't actually have a website yet, so you can email me at key and chang 360 at gmail.com. And I just so like say 360, I'm like 360-degree all over. A session with me is really just that sometimes maybe that you will have to do a little bit of work afterwards, but not a lot. Probably just really take it easy after like the sessions. Um, but on a typical session, what we'll do is see what you're actually needing at that time and if you want to work on something in particular. From there, it's just going to be like what your body needs and also your spirit needs. It may be an energy healing, or it may be a past life reading, or it may be an aura healing. And all of these are really like combined into like the energy healing where I reach you and just let you know, hey, is this like what you want to work on, or is there something in particular you like to work on? And from there, we just go from there. But of course, the one caveat I do have to say is that um, I won't I wouldn't clear anything that you actually don't want me to clear, nor see anything that you don't want me to see. So you actually have a choice to say, okay, you know what? I don't want you to see this. I don't want to work on this at this time as well. So you actually have free will and also free control of the sessions too.
That's beautiful. Philip, I want to say thank you. Oh my goodness, this has been wonderful. It's been wonderful having this discussion with you. Is there any last thing you would like to share with our audience?
Uh, no, I just how does the Catholics do it? It's just like the shake hand, go with peace.
Yes. Well, absolutely. Go in peace. And if you know that someone you know will benefit from hearing Philip's conversation and story, please share this episode with them. And if you like what you saw, please like us, please subscribe to us, and thank you. Thank you for attending another episode of The Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. And thank you, Philip, for attending.
So thank you.
And take care, everyone, for now. Bye bye.